All right, world, welcome to another episode of TalkTime podcast with your host here, Dan Allen. We got my co-host, Nathan Hicks. What's up, Nate?
Back, guys. I'm back again.
Back again. As y'all see, we've been blowing the world up with our podcast, right? So we got a dynamic guest. His name is Mr. Keith Atterberry. Let's give it up for Mr. Keith. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
This brother here brings a lot of wealth and knowledge. But I say wealth don't necessarily mean money, but his wisdom and his talents and his gifts brings wealth. And the things that he's going to share with this interview is going to be something to blow your mind and to help motivate younger and older people. So, Mr. Keith Atterberry, let's jump right in on it.
All right.
Introduce yourself to us.
How's it going? Great to be here, first of all, first and foremost.
Yes, sir.
It's been a long time coming. We've been friends for a long time now.
Long time
now. I'm basically a Los Angeles transplant in Chicago. I came here in 2002 with the Navy. I was in the Navy, stationed up at Great Lakes, and retired from the Navy in 2005, 21 years, and then went back to school, and I'm still here. Still here after all those years. So I've been here, over almost 20 years now.
Wow, time just flies.
I never thought I'd be here this long,
Right.
So yeah, I'm a Chicagoan now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So since you've been in Chicago, what has been like the most intriguing things for you to do?
Chicago, let's see. Well, I'd say first and foremost, I went back to school here. I'll talk about this maybe later, but I was a high school dropout, joined the Navy, earned my GED after I joined the Navy, and then I started taking college courses while I was on active duty. And when I retired, I had like 3 years of college. So I would say school education has been my primary focus since I got here, along with my family. I have 2 children here with me. And I also have been doing research. I've been doing a lot of research on crime. And what else have I been doing here? Music, riding motorcycles.
Yeah.
That's basically what I do.
Your education piece is a bit intriguing to me because when I met Keith, I met him, I was a community policing sergeant, and I met him. He was doing some projects in college, and at the time I was just starting to teach college myself, and I was like, man, this brother here gonna help guide me on when I retire from the police department, I can go into higher education, instruction, and he really guided me on that. So tell me about your educational field.
Okay, it's an interesting story, because I never planned to do what I'm doing now, which is teaching at the university level. I originally was just going to go back, finish up my bachelor's degree, go to law school, right? I always wanted to be an attorney for some reason. I was always intrigued with the law and with crime. And after I retired, like I said earlier, I started taking classes at Northeastern Illinois University, and then earned my bachelor's degree. And there was this professor there at NEIU who said, maybe you should consider teaching, right? And I really never thought about teaching as a civilian in the Navy. I had been an instructor part-time. I was like a collateral duty in the Navy. So I did have a little, experience teaching in the Navy, but as a civilian, no, it was the last thing on my mind. But, he kind of piqued my interest in terms of, and he told me something that one of your guests last week said, which was, you're only going to work 3 days a week. You have
It sounds good to me. That's what I'm talking about.
And
Great schedule.
Okay.
yeah, right. So I'm like, wow, that sounds good. Maybe I should do that. And he said, if you become an attorney, you're going to be an officer of the court. You might want to change the world, but you're going to have these constraints, right? And so I thought about it, and so I said, let me go ahead and give it a go, right? So I applied to a program called DFI, which is Diversifying Faculty, Higher Education Faculty in Illinois. I was accepted. I received a fellowship from them. And then I was also accepted into the doctoral program at UIC. And so, I went from NEIU into the doctoral program in criminology, law, and justice at UIC, and just started working on the PhD, and I started doing. And then when I earned my master's degree, after about a year or so, I started teaching.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I met you, I think I'd probably been teaching a couple years, maybe 2 or 3 years at that point. And so I'm still actually pursuing the PhD over there. I'm still in the program over there, and I've been teaching for 10 plus years now. And I've been teaching at UIC. I'm teaching a course this semester called Justice, Rights, Justice, and the Law.
Uh-huh.
It's a human rights focused course, which I've never taught before. This is an interesting course. I like it. And I'm teaching a course called Police and Society over at Roosevelt.
I took that class.
It's been a struggle because I've been working and going to school.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, I'd be done with this education piece by now.
Right.
But, it is what it is, right? You got to make money.
You got to work. You got to pay the bills.
You got to pay the bills. So that's what it's been about. And I've been fortunate to teach at different schools, as I mentioned earlier. My alma mater, NEIU. I don't teach there right now, but I taught there for a while. UIC, I teach there periodically, and I've also taught at St. Xavier University. I think that's it. I think those are the schools I've taught at. So, I like it. I like teaching. I like connecting with the youth, young people, future leaders of the world, and I like learning. I'm a lifelong learner, so it's right down my alley. Education is right down my alley, but I didn't know it. If you had asked me, as a youth, as a teenager, would I be doing this, I would have laughed.
Yeah.
It sounds like this is his passion, though. Your passion is teaching. Education.
I think it is. I found, this as an accident almost, though. I've always been curious, right?
Yeah.
Always a curious kid growing up, always, wanting to learn things, but I was not a good student.
Well,
Not a good student in high school. In fact, I got kicked out. I think I got kicked out of 2 middle schools, and then wound up dropping out. Still could have graduated after all that.
Mm-hmm.
Just didn't go to school. I used to ditch. I used to ditch classes, and we could talk about the reasons why. But I was not performing in school at all whatsoever. So college was the last thing on my mind when I did eventually finish going to school or stop going, and then the military presented itself. Right. So.
Wow.
That's how that happened.
It's a very good background. It shows that with persevering, you can do it.
Sure.
You can, yes.
Regardless of any obstacle that may come in your way.
Absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
can still do it.
Yes, it can be done. Definitely.
And this conversation is really intriguing to me because I didn't even know that part about as far as the not being successful initially in education.
Mhm.
And I love to hear success stories when people didn't start off right away successful.
Sure.
Like I always tell young adults and even mid-age people, it's not where you start, it's where you finish.
Absolutely.
That's the bottom line. And that's why I want to keep on this show because I know he's going to be an encouragement to people. So,
Absolutely.
hey, people, world, you hear this, right? It's not where you start, it's where you finish. This is a success story right here. I'm telling you.
Absolutely.
When I finished and got my master's degree, it wasn't initially, it was when I was on the police department. I took advantage of tuition reimbursement. You know what I mean? You find these opportunities and you take advantage of them. You know what I mean? That's how you do it. And it's tough when you're an adult to go back to school.
It is.
But it is what it is,
Yep.
So
It can be done. though.
it could be done.
Yep.
So you mentioned music. Tell me a little bit about your music background.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part, right?
That's my baby too, yes.
Yeah, the music started for me like middle school, 7th grade, band,
Yeah.
in my middle school in Los Angeles. And I was lucky because I went to a program, the junior high school and the high school nearby, which was Locke High School in Los Angeles, had the same band director, right?
Yeah.
Guy named Mr. Harris. And Mr. Harris was from Southern University, right? So we had like a pipeline.
Mhm.
So, you start at Gompers Junior High School, 7th through 8th grade, or 9th grade, excuse me, and then graduate, go to Locke High School, 10th through 12, right? And so we had a very strong music program, I would say, in the city of Los Angeles. one of the top schools, I would say, probably top 3 every year.
Yeah.
We won awards. We would win the city. I think in my senior year, my program won the senior year. I say think because I had transferred out of there.
Yeah.
But yeah, we won the city championship 1982. I'm that old. Giving away my age
We
here.
just say, do the math, yeah.
Do the math. Do the math.
It's a blessing.
1982, class of
It's a
82.
blessing.
But yeah, and so I'm one of those kids, you know, I was very talented, if I don't say so myself, musically. It was almost something that came naturally to me.
Yeah.
So I would say I was probably a musical, not a prodigy necessarily, but someone who was musically inclined.
Yeah. Just had the
You know,
gift.
And I practiced a lot.
Yeah.
I liked practice. No one made me do this.
Yeah.
You know, my parents or no one made me do it. I just wanted to do it, right? And so, long story short, after high school, I just kept playing. You know, like a lot of people just move on with their lives, right? But I was just one of those people. I love music so much, so I just continued to play. Continued even when I joined the Navy. Kept playing, learning different instruments, saxophone. Because in high school, I played tuba.
Okay.
Of all instruments, right? I played tuba.
Yeah.
I played baritone horn. And then after graduating, joining the Navy, I learned how to play the sax, taught myself how to play that. And then started learning keyboards and other instruments. So yeah, I just, you know, it's just something I love to do. It's relaxing.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that I like being creative
Mhm.
and it's fun.
Wow.
It's fun. So I still do it. You know, I used to produce while I was in the Navy. I would produce tracks for kids in the Navy, some of my friends and people who would rap, you know, on the ship. I would make songs for them,
Yeah.
tracks for them and record them.
Yeah.
And make demo tapes for people. And I did a lot of stuff. You know, I would play with the church. We had like on the ship, we would always have like a church group or whatever.
Yeah.
I would get with them and play with the choir.
Yeah. I would have been with them.
You would have been with them.
Yeah.
You would have been there.
I was the church
I
group.
can see that.
Wherever there was music, I'm doing it, right?
Yeah.
It didn't matter. It didn't matter what type of music. So yeah, that's how I got started, and I'm still doing it. You know, I wanted to do it professionally, man, but you know, I had to make a choice. I had a family. It would have been very risky to get out and do that with kids.
Yeah.
Try to pursue that.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because you're trying to be Kanye West or somebody, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you know, you might not make it, right? I
Yeah.
mean, that was a big choice. So I had to stay, was it the Navy or that, right? Because it's hard to do both while you're an active duty military.
Yeah.
It's hard to do both. So
Yeah.
So I still play. I play for fun. Trying to play with you.
Come on.
Trying to get with you, man.
Come on. We at the studio right now.
I know.
We're gonna make it happen.
Let's do it.
What's your most notable music achievement?
Wow, man. You know, I mean, I played in a halftime game, Rams game
Mm-hmm.
in high school.
Well, that's dope.
Our high school band did. That was good on TV and all that. Various parades.
Yeah.
I was in All City Band in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
All City. I would say for me though, personally, probably just creating my own songs and you know, giving them to people and creating songs for other people and having them like my music and do stuff like that. So,
Right.
yeah, I would say that's my greatest accomplishment is just being able to create my own stuff.
Yeah.
As a young person who may be as talented like you were as a young person, how do you get them to really gear into that side, that talent? Whereas they may have parents who are not in music and who's not talented like that. But how do you get that to explore? Or how do you tell that young person that may be out there saying, well, I have these talents, how do I?
It's a great question. And you might not even know you have the talents, by the way, right?
Absolutely.
So I would say if you're interested in music, first of all, when I was a kid, you know, music programs were prevalent in the schools. Maybe not so much now, right? So if you don't have, you know, try to find a music program at your school, your local school, or any kind of local organization, like organizations that you run.
Right.
If you can't do it at school, try to do it with a local organization or a group. Just do some research, you know, go online. There's a lot of programs out there for kids that are interested in music.
It is.
You just have to do some research. Get on Google, you know, Google it and see what you can find. And then just start from there, right? You know, you may not know exactly where you want to go with music. or if you even have any talent, right? But
Right.
there's only one way to find out, right?
It's to do it.
So I'm one of those people. I think we all have a talent.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just haven't discovered our talent.
Yeah.
Right? So you even you have a talent.
No, I always say the Lord didn't give me none.
Yes, he did.
He passed me up.
Yes, he did.
You can sing background. And you can at least do the
What's that
best.
song? Do not pass me by. He didn't pass you by.
Try.
The good Lord didn't pass you by. But I would say this, y'all, on Talk Time. Guys, we're going to our commercial. As you see, Mr. Atterberry has some gifts, some multiple gifts for the world to share. And I look forward to bringing Keith to Divine Purpose Youth Performing Arts Center with me and my wife, Victoria, so he can share some of his gifts for our music program this year as we are expanding. So I'm thankful to him, and I'm glad I got him in my corner. And guys, we're going to come back right after this commercial. Mr. Keith Atterberry, thank you. We'll be back in a minute.
Parenting, right? So we need parents to be involved with their kids. You should know where your kids are at night.
Hello, this is your boy Dan Allen from Chicago Cultural Performing Arts Media Alliance. You want to know what's coming up next for the Alliance? I'm glad you asked. We have a great violence prevention gala coming up very, very soon. It's going to be April 6, 2024, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. at the Nichols Tower, 906 South Holman. Tickets are only $50. It's going to be a great event. We get to see all of our violence prevention partners coming together, sharing the great collaborative efforts that we do to reduce violence in Chicago. Get your tickets on Eventbrite, Chicago Arts Alliance. See you there.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Tamara. So as you know, we are having our violence prevention gala, and I'm telling you, you don't want to miss out. Come out, dress to impress, look nice. It's going to be an event that you don't want to miss. We will have food, live entertainment, dancing. Cash bar is also available. Make sure you get those tickets. See you there.
Hey, yo, it's your boy B. Wills, co-host of the Talk Time Shot. Check this out. CCPMA, the Alliance, we're hosting this crazy violence prevention gala coming up April 6th. I know you've already heard about it, but check this out. Let me give you a little bit of the music portion that we do. Last year we did Light Tonight. We're going to do that again this year. We did a Christmas concert for the youth. Crazy amazing. And literally this weekend, we just did Flip the Beat. You're going to hear a little bit more about that. This year we got some more stuff coming up. Gonna do some concerts, gonna do some recordings, gonna do some things to try to get the youth involved in what we do. But check this out. CCPMA is literally celebrating their first year in violence prevention. We've been doing one solid year of work, but the work don't stop there. So we need your support. Come on out. We got this crazy band, Conquest the Band, off the chain. So hey, get your tickets, Eventbrite, they're only $50. Go there. See you there. Love you. Peace.
All right, well, welcome back to Talk Time with our guest, Keith Atterberry, and the number one co-host, Mr. Nathan Hicks. he got a lot of names. He got like Sinead. What they call you with Denton? What was the name we called you? Nathan Great, yeah. And when Nathan Great.
I take on all jobs.
Right. So before we went to the commercial, Keith here, we was talking about, he was sharing his background with education, his upbringing, military, and his music and stuff like that, right? So as I was sharing with you all, when I met Keith, one of the things that was compelling about him to me was the whole community policing and crime fighting strategies, because he's an educator, right? And that's what he specializes in. So one thing that we want to talk about right now is the crime in the city of Chicago and strategies and just overall. You talk about teen trends. You think, I got friends that live downtown and they like, I live in South Loop. I look out my window and I see a bunch of teenagers breaking into cars and just stealing on people, just doing crazy stuff. This downtown Chicago. I remember downtown Chicago, kids didn't even go downtown. Right. Unless we went to go to the McVickers theater to see the Kung Fu movies and stuff like that. That was it. You know what I mean? So we think about crime in Chicago. Keith, what comes across your mind?
Well, first and foremost, I'll just put this out there. I didn't mention this earlier, but I was one of those kids growing up in LA. I was a gangbanger. Now, I say I was a gang member. I'm not going to say a gangbanger, right?
Yeah.
Because I wasn't doing a lot of things gangbangers do,
Mhm.
like shooting people and stuff like that. But
That takes to know.
He's like, let's clear this up.
I mean, I was affiliated and I was involved with people that were doing those things, right?
Just about that life.
My friends were, but no, I didn't do those things. But so I kind of know what it's like to be in their shoes,
Yeah,
growing up
sure.
in the inner city, not having access to resources, your parents maybe not
Come on.
doing the right thing, your
Come
parents
on.
maybe in the streets. My parents were in the streets. My parents were like drug dealers and stuff. I was raised by my grandmother, and my grandmother was older, so I had freedom, right?
Okay.
And when you give a kid freedom and you don't have supervision, what do you think is going to happen, right?
Be out there.
I said that to say I understand the origins of a lot of the behavior that we see, and I understand the whys, right? Now, that doesn't excuse their behavior, right? Crime, a lot of criminal behavior we see, there's still not a real good excuse for it, but it is a reason, right, why we have a lot of crime. But I would just say, I think the crime here in Chicago is unique because statistically, Chicago has more crime than Los Angeles and New York City combined. And I think
Yes.
we're still the third largest city.
Yes.
So we're like the third largest city, but we're number one in terms of crime.
Mhm.
So that begs the question of why? What's so different about the city of Chicago, right? The populations are probably similar, right?
Mhm, mhm.
We're talking about diverse populations,
Mhm.
so on and so forth. So, it's a very good question. I don't have the answer to why we have
Yeah.
the problems we have here in Chicago. If I
Mhm.
did, I'd be rich.
Yeah.
Okay? There's a lot of theories out there, abundance of theories regarding criminal behavior and why people do the things they do. But I tend to focus on what I call what are known as the social structural theories of crime, and that has to do with learning crime being a learned behavior,
Mhm.
social bonds that we have with people that we're close to, right? Some of those people may be criminals and we emulate them.
Mhm.
Also, I would say poverty is related to it. And I'm not going to say it causes crime, but poverty is definitely related to crime. So there's a myriad of reasons
Mhm.
why we have it. In terms of our strategies, in terms of fighting crime, uh, I think CPD does the best they can do, honestly, in terms of what their role is,
Mhm.
right? Their role is to enforce the law, and there are constraints to what they can do, right, legally,
Absolutely.
and unfortunately, I think there's a lack of involvement with the community,
Mhm.
right? And I know there's some people involved. I'm not trying to paint everyone with a broad brush, but I think overall, what I see from my perspective is what I saw when I was a kid. Where were our parents when we were out in the streets wreaking havoc and running them up, right?
Right.
Where were our parents, right?
Yeah.
When I was out at, 11 p.m. at night
Yeah.
in fifth, sixth grade, seventh grade, where are my parents,
Yeah.
right? So I think a lot of this crime problem can be solved if we have more involvement with our community, with our parents,
Mhm.
with the social structure.
Mhm.
That exists. People like you are
Mhm.
doing a great job, obviously, trying to fill in the gaps,
Yeah.
right, for a lot of the weaknesses or the things that are lacking in our community, right, which is parenting, right? So we need parents to be involved with their kids. You should know where your kids are at night.
Yeah.
You should be monitoring your kids' activities in school. Who are they hanging out with, right?
Yeah.
Those types of things. So, I just feel like this is not just a Chicago problem.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's a national problem. But it just seems to be Chicago for whatever reason. And I don't know the reason. The answer to this question, maybe you guys know. Why is it worse here? I really can't answer that question.
I mean, I don't know why it would be worse here. I just think if I was to go back and think about the time period, I just think it goes back to when crack was introduced into the communities. And once it came into the community, those parents got on crack. Then you had the older grandparents trying to raise the kids because the parents weren't there.
Yeah.
And those grandparents at that time, they couldn't do it because you get more freedom with a grandparent.
Yes.
And then now you have those kids that were raised by grandma and granddad. They're younger having kids. So they was never really taught how to be a parent.
It's true.
And how to parent their kid. So now you have this generation of these kids just running amok. And no one is parenting them, and no one has taught their parents how to be a parent.
Exactly.
True.
So you have a few of us who were brought up in the 80s. I'm dating myself too, guys, who were brought up in the 80s who may have had parents that were at home and checked on us and made sure that we were in. But then you have the other parents who were on drugs or selling drugs. They wasn't parents.
True.
So it just, to me, it sounds like it's more of a trickle down effect. And I wouldn't say trickle down. I would say trickle up effect. Because now it's affecting the generation from the generations of the 80s.
Yes.
It's affecting the generation of today.
That's true. I agree.
And when you think about educators, like elementary school, like CPS, high school, oh my God. As an educator, I know you teach college. How can these educators deal with these kids? Let's say deal with them, teach them, and they giving them the middle finger and they MFing them, and then there's very little consequences happening at their home. How does that work for an educator?
Yeah, that's tough. And you're right. I'm not necessarily dealing with what a lot of educators are dealing with at primary and secondary level, high school, middle school. But I would say, if I were an educator, let's just hypothetically say, if I were a high school educator or whatever, I don't know, Dan and Nate. I think a lot of it has to do with social services, maybe, because a lot of times what I know is true is that there are problems at home.
Absolutely.
And so how can the kid focus at school and class when they don't even know where their next meal is coming from?
There we go. And I've seen it.
They don't know, their mother might be in jail.
Yeah.
The father is out in the streets doing whatever. So it's a social problem. And so what that means to me is like the schools maybe need to be more equipped to deal with social problems. Maybe the social workers, maybe they need to hire more social workers, right?
Yeah.
Maybe they need to be more involved with what's going on at home with the kids and trying to stabilize these situations. But it's tough, right? Because that requires money, right?
Yeah.
And funding, and is that money there? Is that funding there?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think it is right now, right? So it's priorities, right?
It has to be.
So the city has not, in my opinion, they need to prioritize these children and try to figure out what's going on socially in these households, in these communities, try to get to the root of the problem, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you can deal with the kid. Once you get to the root of the problem.
Right.
You know what the problem is.
Right.
Now. You can
It's
try to
tough.
resolve it.
I think you're spot on because I'm also a substitute teacher for CPS. And I talked to a social worker recently in the school, and I asked her, I said, "Are you busy? Do you get to engage with kids a lot?" She said, "Baby, sometimes I have a line of kids that I have to talk to." So you're spot on what you're saying about the socio-economical need is what's need to be enhanced, within the school system, especially CPS. That's the only way. That's the only way. From the stories I'm hearing from principals and teachers,
Like both of you all said, if you don't know what's going on at home, how can you help that child?
Yeah.
Really can't.
So then let's segue into community policing. So you are educator, I'm a practitioner. You're an educator. Community policing. What do you think that's at right now? Not just the CPD, throughout the country.
It's a great question. I recently taught an intro to policing or criminal justice course, actually, at Roosevelt University. And this is not a topic I deal with on a daily basis either, right? I just want to be clear about that. And I'm not an expert in this area.
It's okay.
But I am knowledgeable about community policing in general. And I would say it's evolving. I would say community policing is necessary. It's a great approach, I think, to policing, right? Because the police need the community to be able to solve crimes, right? Police can't do it on their own, right? So you can't discount community policing. The question is how is community policing being implemented and whether or not it's effective, right? And so I would say the effect is this is just my anecdotal opinion about it. I would say it's It's it has had a minimal effect, but I think there's potential for it to get better.
Mm-hmm.
But again, there has to be resources and there has to be an administration, police administration that prioritizes community policing and not make it sort of like a back burner type of thing to
Right,
say, well, we
right.
have a program,
Right.
we're trying, what are you really doing? Are you really putting the proper resources into community policing? Are you
Mhm.
really making community policing a priority, or is it just a figurehead program that that you have because the Department of Justice says you have to have this,
Right,
right?
right.
And you're getting funding from the Department of
Right.
Justice to have this program.
Right.
So how are you implementing the program, right? Are you out in the community? Are you performing outreach? Are you actually interacting with the community members
Well.
and problem solving with them?
Well,
That's really the question. And so, in terms of Chicago, I know you being a former community policing sergeant and lieutenant definitely are a role model for what it should look like,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Thank
But I can't speak for the entire program,
Right.
right? You would know better than me.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's necessary in Chicago.
Yeah, I just want to get your take on it because I do know, and you hit on a good point. Now that I'm on my way out the door, I can kind of speak freely. I take community policing very, very, very seriously. When I see police departments, not just CPD, not buying in to community policing, well, and like I tell officers all the time, community policing is not an office within a district that has 8 to 10 officers in there. Community policing is the whole district, it's the whole city. We're all community policing. The way the police departments are set up now, the way law enforcement is set up now, ain't no more putting hands on people in unnecessary manner. That's not happening. We got body-worn cameras. People got phones, to record you from a block away. So now it's all about community engagement. And the key word is engagement. How do you engage them? You engage them with kids. You engage them in basketball games. You go to community meetings and you show community that you care. And I would say when I was a tactical officer, some of my best arrests made because I got information from people, from community residents.
And if you're a beat officer, you have to make yourself known out there to the neighbors,
Yeah.
to the neighborhood, and to the kids, to the residents. Everyone needs to know who you are.
Exactly.
For sure.
Exactly.
Absolutely. You should know your local beat officers.
You should.
You
Right?
should know. Yes.
Yes.
And it goes back to what Dan said. It's not just the CAPS office. It's the whole district.
Right.
You have to be engaged in your people
Yes.
Absolutely.
that you're sent to protect and serve.
Yeah. You have to be.
Absolutely.
You have to be. And I'm gonna say this, guys, as we're running out of time because Keith has a special treat for us too. A little later, he's gonna show that other side to us, the music side to us, with an instrument that a lot of us don't really tackle that much. But he's gonna show that side to us. But like I said, this conversation has been so engaging when you talk about a brother who has been in the military, who has been in the field of education, who has been in them streets. You know what I mean? And showed how to overcome. Yeah, showed how to overcome being involved with things that may not have been all that positive, but to flip it. And
The grace of God.
with the grace of God, to flip it, to turn what's meant for bad, to turn it for good.
Yeah.
And that's what he has done. And he's a pillar of light for goodness, for success. And I applaud him and I thank him for everything that he's done and what he's going to do. Keith, is there anything you want to close out on?
Well, thank you again, Nate.
Thank you, sir.
My buddy Daniel. No, I just want to say thank you, audience, for watching. It's too short. I wish we could talk a lot longer, right?
Yeah, we
probably
could.
Maybe we'll do this again, but I'm sure there's a lot more topics we could cover. as
Yes,
well,
it is.
right? But we have time constraints, so thank you again, audience, for watching. It's been a pleasure talking with you guys, and I look forward to hopefully speaking with you guys again in the future.
And he will. Trust me on that, y'all. Talk time, and we out. Thank you.
Well, I heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord, but you don't really care for music, do you? It goes like this: the fourth, the fifth, the minor fall, the major lift, the baffled king composing hallelujah, 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 hallelujah,
Let's go. That was perfect. That was perfect.